notification. Are
You seeing me enough of me?
yes, ma'am. And
Okay.
we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very, very special edition of Off the Record, the People's Podcast, with a great guest today, an illustrious guest and a family member who is going to give us some great information as well as inspiration. And this is student captain, Sister Leslie Alakim Muhammad. First of all, assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Walaikum salam, dear.
How are you doing?
Fine, all praises due to Allah.
It means so much to me and so much to us that you would grace us with your presence today. We love your family as well as yourself, and I just wanted to thank you again. When was the first time you heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I believe the first time I heard the teachings was in 1970, late 1978.
Yes, ma'am.
On the radio. I heard the voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and it just, everybody that was in the car, we immediately said, who is that speaking? You know, I remember that, yeah. But, and then later in 79, March of 79, I was in Richmond, Virginia, and he was coming to speak there. And someone on my job told me that he was coming to speak. So I was excited. I said, oh, I want to go. So she got me a ticket to go to the event. I remember that was in March of 1979.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, and why did you accept the teachings?
Well, it was a process, and basically because once I heard him, it's like daggers of truth and all were just shooting through me. Yes, and then I later on, I was kind of interested in wondering, well, what's the truth, you know, and how am I supposed to even be praying? Because I had met someone that worked near where I worked, and we talked a lot, and he was a Muslim, and he used to give me bits of information, but I really didn't understand. So I think I was curious to know what the truth is, you know. So later on, I believe around September, October of 79, I asked another friend of mine if he could get me the book, How to Eat to Live and Message to the Black Man.
Yes, ma'am.
And he did. I just give him my little $5 it was at that time, and he gave me Message to the Black Man. And I can remember when I started reading it, you know, it was to me, it was true. I didn't see anything false in it, you know. Yes, so it really started my my mental and spiritual capacities rotating, I guess, you know. But I know that Allah was probably bringing me on this journey all along, just probably dragging me, bumping along, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
With different things. Because after I read one book, and of course I had already completed more than 4 years of college at that time, but I can bear witness, is that really the only first book that I read from cover to cover fully.
It's Message to the Black Man. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Yes, yeah.
Beautiful.
Shamefully, but it's true.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, my next question is, how did your parents feel about you accepting the teachings?
Well, my parents really never gave me much negative flack or anything about joining. I think they probably saw a little process in me of heading that way. But then I had to announce, you know, I announced one December. Of course, I waited until after I got my gift from my mom, because she was giving me a washing machine.
Yes, ma'am.
I waited and said, this is the last Christmas that I'm going to celebrate. So, but at that point, my mother said, okay, you know, so don't expect anything from me next year. I said, I won't.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and it kind of just went like that. But I can say that I've been blessed by a lot. That my family has been very supportive. You know, they never, you know, said any negative things about me. They used to joke with me, you know, on different things. But like I had an uncle that always used to say, oh yeah, you know, the rabbis, all they do is say, you know, say a blessing over that pork and go ahead. You know, they would say jokes and things like, oh, I saw you going over to McDonald's and doing this, that, you know, because I was also a vegetarian. I became vegetarian a little bit prior to that. So, you know,
okay,
I
great.
guess they probably thought, oh, here she goes again, you know, but
Yes, ma'am.
basically, I feel like I was blessed with my family not giving me a lot of hassle about becoming a Muslim.
Praise be to Allah. And it was such an honor to have had interactions, loving interactions with your mother by the grace of Allah. Okay, my sister Miriam says, all praise be to Allah. Sister Leslie says, Sister Leslie and Muhammad says, Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem. My next question was, what was it like when you first, you know, you coming in and you hear the teachings? Who trained you? And what city did you come in?
Well, I kind of had like a dual citizenship going on a long time ago. Like I said, I was in Richmond, Virginia. And when I first started going to a little tiny study group, I mean tiny, it was in like a little front room of a little tiny row house. And I think it was only about three or four women, including myself at that time. So as far as getting trained, I was just following along with what they were doing, because one of them was an elder sister who had been in the nation prior to 75. So I was just listening to what they said, and I was just learning how to, really, I was just studying and learning how to maybe change my appearance and things like that. And, you know, that was a bumpy road back then.
Yes, ma'am.
Then there was a period of time where there was some controversy between the study groups in Richmond. So there was some infighting. And I actually like fell away for a little while because I was, you know, looking for that wonderful feeling that I had when I first started, and reading and the studying and the Holy Quran. And I was just looking for that utopia. I didn't know that we were going to be battling with each other and things like that. So I kind of like stepped back. And then I started, I returned to Northern Virginia, where I'm from, and started working in Northern Virginia, although I maintained my home in Richmond. And somebody told me, oh, you know, they meeting at the Howard Inn, people who believe like you believe. I said, oh, okay. And they said, you should go over there. I said, okay. So I ended up going over there, and that's when I first heard, I think, Dr. Aline. And it just, the things that he was saying, of course, just reverberated in me, things that I knew that I should be going along with. So I started coming there on a regular basis. And then that's when I was drawn into the MGT and GCC class training, actually, by Sister Nisa Islam Muhammad, who was, she wasn't Nisa at that time, but it was Sister Nisa and Sister Alberta Muhammad. Yeah, yes. And so that's when I started in DC. But at that time, I was still traveling back and forth to Richmond as well, because I actually didn't know that I hadn't recited to anyone, because at the time I wrote my letter, and I actually traveled to the 1981 Savior's Day, and my letter and all got accepted. It took a long time. By that time I had fallen back, and I thought, okay, so I didn't know that I hadn't actually recited to someone. So I actually ended up reciting to someone when I traveled back on the weekend to Richmond.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I was back and forth at that time. And but then coming into the training in DC is actually where the training actually started. And then your mom moved back to DC. I hadn't met her prior to when I first came in. I didn't know that she had been there, and then she moved back there. And I think you were about maybe 3 or 4 or 2, or I'm not sure. But she began to actually give me some training. And after a while, we got what we call leadership training, but we were doing what we thought was vanguard training.
Yes, ma'am.
And I thank Allah for your mom. I love her so much, because I'm the type of person who will sit in the back and observe. And she was always calling me up to the front, well, to do something. And I'm the type of person that if I could do it, I would go ahead on and do it. But I wasn't going to raise my hand and jump to the front and say, oh, I can do it. I can do it.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I would like to sit back and observe. But she was always pulling me to the forefront. So, and I thank Allah for that, because it pulled things out of me that I didn't even know were in me, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then we started training and traveling, and anywhere the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan went, we hopped in the car and drove up and down the road to wherever he was going to be. And I always say my little, I had a little burgundy Camry, and however many of us could fit in there, we jumped in there and we would drive. You know, we would go to New Jersey, Philadelphia, Ohio. We went to Tuskegee. You know, we went one time all the way to St. Louis from DC. We would just go.
Okay, praise be to Allah. And thank you for your sacrifice. And of course, thank your family for their sacrifice as well. And thank you for still soldiering on very much, as the captain.
All praises to Allah.
Assalamu alaikum. Sister Rabia says, all praises to Allah. Sister Miriam says, beautiful. Sister Nazira says, Assalamu alaikum. Sister Nazira. For Jimmy Davis says, Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you for your service to our nation, Sister Captain. And Sister Rabia says, mouse number 4. Beautiful. Okay, my next question is, what was it like meeting the Most Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan for the first time?
What was it like? It was absolutely wonderful, and I can say, your mother said I embarrassed her, because we were soldiering and we had gotten our uniforms together, and we were standing posts, you know, long periods and hard. And when we were at DC, and he came after the whatever event it was, he came to the mosque, and then afterwards upstairs, she introduced me as her top soldier. And when I went to hug him, I just bust out crying. The tears just flew.
Yes, ma'am.
And he embraced me and he said, I love you too. So that was my first actually face-to-face meeting with him. And, you know, the spirit, I guess the spirit just came, it just overwhelmed me.
Yes, ma'am. Beautiful. Okay, my next question is, I've seen some pictures in my mother's photo albums of you all in DC in the early days, and it seemed like the minutes it would just be with y'all, like, it was almost like there was no E-team. It was just like y'all in the, I'm like, Mama, how y'all in the room with him like that? How was it to have like such close access to to a man of God like that back in those days?
You know what? It was a wonderful experience, and I guess if I look back on it, I would, you know, see how blessed we were to even just be in his presence. And you're right, it wasn't like the E-team, because there were times where we served him, you know. There were times where we served him, and then we set up, and then we left. We went to the venue, we set up the check post, we did security, and then when he left to come back, we left to come back to serve him late at night, at the evening, you know, and clean up, and then go on home, you know. And it was just like, you know, that's what we did. That's what we wanted to do. And we didn't tire of doing that. And we traveled sometimes and did that as well. You know, I can remember traveling and serving him in North Carolina and South Carolina, places in the region, to make sure that it was, you know, done properly, because other people weren't there that knew how to do it. So we did it, you know. And, you know, I feel blessed. I feel blessed to have been able to serve the man of God like that. Yeah, I feel really blessed.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you. And thank you all. Thank you for your transparency. And thank you all for continuing to watch the People's Podcast. My next question for you, Sister Captain, is when you're traveling, we often hear talk about the Most High Mrs. Farrakhan, but what was it like to, you know, be around Mother Farrakhan, you know, in the early days, and how has she impacted you as, you know, MGT?
Mother Farrakhan has impacted me so greatly because she's such a beautiful spirit, and I learned that she was such a down-to-earth person, you know. And she's so concerned about the MGT and GCC, and she will reach out and help you at any time or any moment, you know. I experienced her, you know, sharing information of with us. I experienced her even taking time to look at the hem of my garment and say, you know, this needs to be straightened out, or that needs to be straightened out. And that's a loving person. You know, she wants the MGT and GCC to be the best, and to be the best representatives of Allah that we can be. And, you know, I also learned that she has such a caring heart in giving. And I know that I had read up one time on what's called Lady Khadijah, the wife of Prophet Muhammad. And there were so many similarities, and it just brought tears to my eyes about Mother Khadijah. But I also really respected the fact that one time after the Million Woman March in Philadelphia, there was a threat, a credible threat against our mosque, our headquarters in Chicago. And so your mom had gotten the information, and she told us and convinced us that, you know, we needed to leave Philadelphia and go to Chicago. So I ended up leaving Philadelphia, stopping at home in Baltimore, catching a flight to Chicago, because we were going there ready to defend our nation, to defend our national headquarters. But when I got there and I saw at the mosque, you know, it was very few women there, just those who were going to be under the direction of the Assistant Supreme Captain on how to defend. And I saw Mother Khadijah and Mother Tadetta there, and they were there to tell us what we had to do, and that we had to be strong and defend our nation. You know, I'm like, that's a soldier. So, I mean, I just love her, and I love her sacrifice that she has made for her nation and for her husband and for her family and for all of us.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you very much. Okay, so when you say there's a threat, did y'all know what the threat was? But you just like pull up to the mosque? Is it code red? Like how did that work out? with no social media, no text message? Like, how do y'all, like, what's going on?
Well, we said telephone, cell phone. So we were informed that there was a group that was saying that they were going to attack the mosque and take it like it was theirs.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we knew that that was not going to happen. So we were prepared to defend it, however we had to. So we went in there with that mindset.
Beautiful. And now, when you would travel during this time, would you be moving by yourself? Like, did you have, who were the sisters in Baltimore? Were you in DC or you in Baltimore?
At that time, I was in Baltimore by then. I came to Baltimore twice, once to help train the sisters. I think that was in 88. And then I was called back in 91 to be the student MGT and GCC captain. So at that time, I was in Baltimore. But when we had big events, I always, we had certain people that we came together to do security for big events. Your mom, Sister Sharifa, the Vanguard, and I was always still a Vanguard, so Vanguard for life. So that's how I travel. But then we have Vanguard here in Baltimore as well, who would travel up. I know for that particular event, I think most of them, the sisters went up for that event, and the Vanguard here travel. We call them the Van Grands now because they, we were in the Vanguard for a long, long time. Sister Sherry Muhammad, Sister Sharon Muhammad, Sister Cheryl Muhammad, just a lot of them,
Beautiful. Okay. Praise be to Allah. Now, once you've been the captain since 1991?
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir. Excellent, excellent. And what advice would you give to sisters, the young women in the nation now, or young women in general, but just on how to, on longevity?
Well, you have to hold on to what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is giving us from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And you have to, he's given us everything. And he gave us a little pamphlet that's called Make Allah Sufficient.
Yes, ma'am.
And if we really would delve into the idea of making Allah sufficient, and I'm not saying that I have done so all the way, I'm still striving to do that as well. But we have to look at all the incidents in our lives and think about making Allah sufficient. And we have to develop our personal relationship with Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of the worlds. We can't get to God through our husbands or boyfriends or other friends, family members. We have to really strive to get a relationship with the Lord of the worlds, and we have to know that what Allah has brought us through the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is in fact the truth and the way for us.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and once we latch on to that way, Allah will bring us. I'm not saying that we won't have any problems or things that come up, but we'll be able to overcome our difficulties and He will sustain us.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Beautiful teacher, Sister Captain. Sister Aisha Muhammad says, my sister, student captain who trained her, and she loves you. My sister Miriam says she loves seeing pictures of the women who walked with Jesus in the early days. You are the true definition of the soldiers. Look beautiful in your 19s, doing it. My sister's name says Peace Family. Sister Michelle McNeil Carter says ASA family, Ramadan Mubarak, soldiers, like Salam, Ramadan Kareem. Praise be to Allah. People saying all praise be to Allah. Brother Eric Muhammad says his dear sister from the Mighty Mosque number 4 at 1615 Kenilworth Avenue. Praise be to Allah. And then Sister Michelle says, come on, Captain Leslie, teach. Allahu Akbar. And then my sister Naima says, good teaching. Beautiful. My next question is, when since you were in the early days and you came in 1981, heard the teaching in 78, the Most High Minister Louis Farrakhan evolved in front of you all's eyes. When did you go from seeing him from being maybe an activist or a charismatic speaker to someone who was divinely guided?
Well, I've never really not seen him as someone who's divinely guided. I never just saw him as an activist or a great speaker, because no one ever impacted me, my spirit, the way that he did the first time I ever went to hear him speak. You know, he spoke right into my life. He spoke right into my situation. Now, it's been a process to understand the evolution of him.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and I'm still really, I'm in awe of him, and I'm still learning things. But I think that in my spirit, in my soul, I always knew who he was and who he is.
Yes, ma'am.
But now I'm able to really like point it out. Like, and sometimes I look at stuff, like I read over stuff that I have read years ago, and I look at it now and I say, like, duh, you know, this was here all the time, but now it's making a different sense to me. Yes, and recently I really can look at knowing we've been brought up so much in my day in a spooky way.
Yes, ma'am.
So even though we have Islam and we know things, in reality, that spookism takes so long to get out of us, you know, because the devil has done such a deep job on destroying us, yes, you know. So sometimes when you reread and restudy things, you're like, duh, this was here all along, you know, and you see it in a different light. Yes, ma'am. So now I'm able to see that, you know, it's a process. If you really think, every prophet and messenger of Allah was born a child, they grew, they did things as children did, they grew up, they evolved into who we saw them and in the scriptures, you know. So we have to know and understand, and when they say that a messenger will be raised among you, among your people, that this same process takes place.
Yes, ma'am. Beautiful. Yes, ma'am.
All praises due to Allah.
Okay. My next question for you is, in the early days, my mother, you know, she always talking about you all having to physically fight to establish Islam in DC and on the Mid-Atlantic, and the dope busters, you all around the time period, the drug lords, and all of this stuff is going on. Was there ever a time that you felt afraid? And if so, how did you overcome that fear?
You know what? I'm not I'm not sure exactly what about fear, because I think that once I got in those situations, Allah blessed the fear to leave. If there was any, I could say apprehension, you know, but Allah blessed those things to leave out of me once I was in the situation. And I always say, oh, hey, your mother, I would say, oh, here she goes again, dragging me into something, you know. But once she said, let's go and do so and so, go and get her, or go get, I mean, I did it. And it's like, it just, at that time, I would become someone else and I would just do it, yes, you know. So, and then afterwards, I'm like, I don't even know that I did that, but I did that, you know.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, ma'am. Okay, my next question is, I often ask the brothers about the Million Man March and the impact on the men, but there would be no Million Man March, no successful Million Man March, if it was not for the sisters. What was it like leading up to the Million Man March, and how did it impact you as a MGT?
Well, the Million Man March is really incredible. And now, as I was in it, I didn't know how incredible it was. We worked. Of course, we cheered the brothers on. We would go where the meetings were, of course, because the minister was there, and we would stand outside and we would cheer the brothers on to go in and hear the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan leading up to the Million Man March. And then I worked in the local organizing committee. And I was on a committee, and we all went weekly to work on our committees. And it was in my mind to make up lunches and cheer the men on to get on the buses to go to the Million Man March. Have my children sit and watch the Million Man March and do work in the Million Man March coloring book and explain to them what was going on that the men were doing that day. But then I had no idea when I got the call that, oh, you got to come to the Million Man March. I was like, I have to come. I didn't know. So yes, I had to scramble around and get myself situated and get my family situated to understand that, yes, I too had to go to the Million Man March because there were women there that needed to be secured as well. So, I was a driver and a security for women at the Million Man March. And all praise is due to Allah that I was in that situation, because it was an overwhelmingly awesome event. I mean, it was so magnificent that afterwards, when we left, your mother, Sharifa, said, when we got back to the hotel, one of the sisters couldn't fit in the car. We had to go back and get her. And it was very quickly. So we turned around, because now we had an empty car, and we went back to pick her up. And all praise is due to Allah, she was able to get in another car. But when we went back and I looked out over the scene of the Million Man March, it was empty and it was silent, as if angels had come and gone. There was no trash, there was no noise, there was nothing. And it was so awesome. I couldn't believe it. After the Million Man March, I brought my sisters from Baltimore over to the Capitol. At that time, you could get back up there and see out. And I showed them out over the Capitol down to the monument, how it looked and how it was filled with the people and where the minister stood and all that. And they appreciated that because it was just an awesome, overwhelming event.
Praise be to Allah. Beautiful history, and thank you very much for your sacrifice, and thank you for your transparency. I'm just let me Brother John, all praises to Allah, teaching the reality of spookism. Thank you, Sister Miriam, for she's thanking me for interviewing you and people who helped establish Islam. Thank you, Brother Janelle. Sister Aisha says that's right. Sister Branda from Chicago says, Sister Leslie, she's learned so much from you. You were great at handling the sisters. Sister Miriam, all praise to Allah. Raymond Ellis, good investigation. Oh, thank you, sir. Sister LaFonda, she's beautiful and powerful. She loves you. And Sister Branda says she made it such a pleasure to hold check posts with you. You always had your gloves stuffed with, always had her gloves stuffed on her wrist. Such a soldier, such a lady, a great example. And then Sister Markeisha Muhammad says, her sister Captain. Praise be to Allah. My next question is, Sister Captain, what has been your greatest trial in your tenure in the Nation of Islam, and how have you overcome that trial?
Ooh, I had a lot of trials. I think my greatest trial has been learning to work with the men that I've had to work closely with, and learning to understand. When I say the men, I mean the strong Black men who out here working in this mission, and learning how to work with them and not let my ego or my determination push back against them so hard that it frustrates me and them. Just learning how to work with the men. Sometimes as a student laborer, when I first came to Baltimore, your mom and some other sisters that love me in DC were like, those sisters over there about to treat you right, and we're going to make sure they treat you right and all that. So, and a couple of sisters actually came with me when I came, but I know that I have loved the women here, and I love the MGT and GCC all over. But the women here have been so much of a support for me since the day I came. And what I didn't know as a student laborer was, though, that I was going to be thrust, of course, in the interaction with student laborers who were men. And and I as a student captain, and when I left DC, I was a first officer, so I'm giving instructions to the women. But the men are going to make sure you're not giving them any instructions. So I just had to learn over time how to be able to work hand in hand with the men of God, and how we have to work hand in hand to help build this nation. And that's a process. That's a process.
Beautiful.
So that's been one of my trials.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Sister Markeisha said you taught her how to soldier. Sister, I'm gonna mess your name. I'm gonna mess the name up. Sister Mathina James Brightful. That's my sister captain. True example of a sister. And Sister Aisha Muhammad says she loves you too.
Can I say one more thing about those men? Because I just want to give them a shout out. Because they were and are such strong forces in this mission. Brother Captain Akil, Brother Student Minister Jamil, Brother Student Captain Larry, Brother Student Captain David, Brother Student Secretary Nadar, Brother, of course, my student minister here, Student Minister Carlos.
Yes, ma'am.
He has, I just seen him evolve. Brother Student Captain Andrew, he's an awesome force. And if I have missed someone, I'm sorry. Oh, Brother Student Captain Al. We have an awesome secretary, Brother Student Secretary Mark. I mean, it's just been an experience with these wonderful, strong men in this mission.
Yes, sir. Crazy.
So I just wanted to give them a shout out.
Beautiful. My next question is, we often see you on this the panel for the drill competition over these years. And many of us, I have my mother has the picture, so I've seen you with your shades on and calling as a great DI. What was it about drill that attracted you to drill, and being a drill instructor? What is it about drill that you love so much?
Well, when I first saw drill, I mean, it was exciting to me. I liked the rhythm of it. I like to dance, so I thought, well, this will be good. This will be fun, But then I quickly found out that drill is a little different from dancing. And it was I had to get onto another beat with it. So I was determined to get onto that beat. And your mother, when I was in DC, was the DI for us. And we were learning to drill and all. And then, of course, as usual, she thrust me to the forefront because she got pregnant. And at that time, and couldn't be the DI. So she volunteered me. So I had to really learn how to do that, because even though I could dance, I could never sing. So it was a different experience for me. But drill to me, when they say it's the exercise of the gods, that's a real thing, because it does something to your soul. And it really helps us to come together in unity. And it helps to build up the spirit around us. I found that when we're drilling in the mosque, the spirit of the believers is higher.
That's right.
So, I just fell in love with the drill, and I love it. I still like to drill. I still like to call.
Yes, ma'am.
Only in the class here in Baltimore, but I love to watch what the young people have done with the drill. They've just taken it to a all new high level, and you're one of them.
Praise be to Allah. It's excellent. And do you have any videos of you? I see my mother's pictures of you calling, but do you have any videos of you in those early routines from the sisters in DC or from Baltimore? Do you have any of those videos?
I don't know. I think I may just have to dig it out somewhere, but somebody else might have some in DC or somewhere. I'm not sure. But I think I have one or that is on that what do you call the tape? The big tapes.
VHS.
Yeah, the VHS. Yeah, that's how. Yeah, I think I have one or two of those. Yes.
Okay. Beautiful. Sister Markeisha says she loves hearing you, DI. Honestly, feel the spirit of Allah resonate with you all. Praise be to Allah. A quick thank you again very much, Sister Captain. I got a quick commercial break for the sponsors of this episode. I'm thoroughly appreciate you all. J Imagination on Cash App. Thank you all for keeping the People's Podcast going. Stay on Point Dance Academy LLC on Instagram. Sister Naima is teaching young women how to do ballet, jazz, tap, all of that good stuff through virtual, through Zoom or through Facebook, like a live situation. Supreme Men's Clothing, St. Louis, Missouri, 10835 West Florissant Avenue, zip code 63136. The phone number is 314-528-555. Our brother in St. Louis, thank you. He's going to keep you all dripped and fresh, with some nice fashion. BMW Entertainment in Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you all for your support. Let them put on you. They can put on some great events for you all. Sister Shelly Muhammad of Las Vegas, Nevada, designersofcomposure.com and Khaliq's Boutique on Instagram. Thank you all very much for your sponsorship. Sister Tia Vinos Muhammad, Raising Black Millionaires. She's from St. Louis but lives in New Orleans. She has has these cards, like playing cards. She said she's gonna send me some in the mail for young Black children to learn economic empowerment and economic development. Akira's Cafe in Chicago. He will deliver the coffee to you at akiras.com. Thank you, Brother Aaron. 773-860-1696. Get you some Akira's coffee. Thank you very much. It's some great coffee. HollyTextual.com, natural hair products and coloring. She has natural hair products in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I thank you very much, sister, for your support. Supreme Team Insurance, Todd X. McGraw, 803-521-2787. Thank you for your support. If you all need some health insurance, reach out to our brother, Saladin Porter, Brother David Adams. Thank you all for your support. Just three more quick commercial breaks. The love has been overflowing from the sponsors to keeping this history going, so I thank you all. My brother Rashad Muhammad, Street Premiere Video Production. He has a drone camera, 4K. He's working on editing and production. Let him do your commercials, movies, whatever you're working on. He's doing a great job. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me coloring book, children's book. It's on Amazon. Make sure you all get it. Thank you very much, Mimi, for your support. My second book, Cleopatra, children's book on Amazon. Thank you all very much. Last but not least, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, Abdul Sharif Muhammad. It is on abdulsharif.com. Thank you very much, Dad, for your support. Back to you, Sister Captain, and thank you for your patience. Sister LaFonda Muhammad says she loves our nation's history, and Stephen M. Kelly says, praise be to Allah, service to our nation. Wonderful. My next question for you, Sister Captain, is what advice would you give to sisters who would like to serve in laboring positions in our nation?
I would say to study and have love for the mission and our people in the forefront of your mind and your heart. I would say that come and do the work. Come and do the work, because it's all about the work of the mission and helping our people and helping the man of God in our midst.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, ma'am. The Capt. Okay. What advice would you give to future mothers?
I would say study how to give birth to a God that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has given us, and really take it to heart, because we can really bring in a whole new world order through our wombs if we study and put in our babies from the beginning what they need to become the gods that are going to take our nation to another level.
Praise be to Allah. Excellent. And thank you very much, love it, for always showing love and, showing love to the podcast. My next question for you, Sister Captain, is what advice would you give to future wives?
I would give to future wives the advice to take your time and really study yourself, study what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has given us in our lessons about duty to self and Allah, and take your time and find out what it is that you need in a helpmeet. And when you are being asked in courtship, you need to look for that and not allow other things to get you to lower your goals or your standards or change that for you. I would say be patient and not jump and rush into things because you feel like your quote unquote time clock is running out, or because your friends did it. You really, marriage is such an important institution for us. So, the most important thing in your life as far as a relationship, other than that you have with Allah and his Christ and Messiah in our midst. So you have to take it seriously. You can't just accept anything or throw yourself into anything without studying it. I mean, we go and study so many other things, but we don't study up on marriage, which is so important. It's the basis of a nation. So I would say take your time, be patient, and look into it very carefully.
Excellent advice and excellent teaching. Thank you very much. And thank you all for continuing to watch the People's Podcast. Brother Jamal, who used to live in Baltimore, says we love you dearly, Sister Captain. And thank you, Brother Jamal, for always your support and your advice as well. My next question for you, ma'am, is what do you do for fun, Sister Captain?
I sold you for fun. That's a trick question because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
That's fun. Do you watch music? Do you listen to music? Do you go to the movies? Anything?
I don't listen to music as much as I used to. I don't even turn the radio on in the car anymore because it's like the time that I have with my thoughts, and I just am planning in my mind, and so I don't listen to it as much as I used to, although I thoroughly enjoy it. I do go to the movies from time to time, although they have all kinds of movies now right at home for you. So yes, I do like movies. I probably like movies too much, but I do like movies. I mean, I like to do a lot of things. I like to go where there's water, and to me it's calming and it's wonderful. I like to be outside doing things at times. As far as activities, I mean, I like to bowl. I like to be with my sisters and friends. When the time comes, like if we have an opportunity to get together and socialize, I really enjoy that. I love going to NGT class. Would you say that's not fun? It's fun to me though. But I love to travel and go where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan goes and help in any way that I can. It's exciting for me to help set up the check post. To even though it's grueling, it's just rewarding, and it's fun.
Praise be to Allah. And we thank you for putting your life on the line to help protect the life of the messenger of Allah in our midst, as well as protect the believers and the people who are going to those events. Sister Aisha Muhammad says, that's right. My sister Miriam says that you're a fashionista. Sister...
I left out that part that I like to share.
Long name says she's a fashionista, well-dressed for less, an entrepreneur. Sister Risa Pearl says, yes, MGC class is fun for sure. Sister Marquisha says she does the youth conference every year. She travels and she travels with the minister. Thank you, Sister Marquisha, for giving us the behind the scenes of the behind the scenes. My next question for you, ma'am, is what advice would you give to the next generation on how they can, and future generations moving in, keep 10 toes down with their faith, like it's just like how you've been in for so long, Captain, since 91, through all the ups and downs of personal life and the nation, just in trials in general. What advice would you give to the future generation to endure to the end?
I would say, of course, you have to keep your faith in Allah. Keep up prayer. Ask Allah for his help and his mercy and his blessings, constantly. That's something that we can never leave from. When I still travel now with the Vanguard, when we leave, they know we start with prayer. Whenever we get on the road, we can have fun, but we have to keep Allah in the forefront.
Yes, ma'am.
And we keep the mission in the forefront.
Yes, ma'am.
And we stay together. We have to learn how to be together.
Yes,
because when we're together in unity, we learn more how to love one another and help one another and work with one another. We're not going anywhere by ourselves. So we have to develop a love for each other. Definitely. I know that Allah has blessed me to have great helpers in the sisterhood here in Baltimore, wonderful sisters that help me, and that, and wonderful sisters across the nation. And we travel together, we stay together, we love it. Causes a love and a development to come about that helps to support you in your work. And I know that I can call sisters across the Mid-Atlantic and all the other regions, someone I can call if I need some advice or some help with something. I can call someone because it's a sisterhood, and I would say always be a brother, always be a sister to your fellow sister soldiers or fellow brother soldiers, because we are an army together and we support one another.
Praise be to Allah. And excellent teaching, excellent teaching. Walaikum salam, Sister Tracy, sending greetings, and Sister Val says, praise be to Allah. Excellent. My last question, and thank you all for continuing to watch the People's Podcast, is Sister Captain Leslie Alakeem Muhammad, what would you like your legacy to be, ma'am?
I would like my legacy to be that of a soldier who put the mission in the forefront and was one who was loving and caring for the man of God and the people of God. I would like for that to be my legacy, that she was truly a sister and she was truly a soldier.
And I believe with 150% that is exactly what your legacy will be. And also that you were very loving as an aunt to the youth and to people who are around, very kind. And thank you for your sacrifice. Thank your family for their sacrifice. And thank you just for being nice to us, on posts, and you behind the scenes. Thank you for being a loving sister. And I want to thank everyone for watching. And Sister Captain, thank you for coming on the People's Podcast.
Thank you, and may Allah bless you and your family. Please give everyone my love.
Yes, ma'am, I will, and you do the same. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.